Right. You see live. So today we're just going to jump right in here. Today I just want to ask you something. All right. So I want to ask you, are you using our legal system to your advantage to create your best life and the best life for your family? So most people I know, I mean, I'm kind of this way too, right? Most of us spend our time trying to avoid the legal system. We kind of slow down when we see the cops. We're nice to our spouses, so they're nice to us, so we can stay together. We don't walk out of the grocery store without paying for our groceries. What else? So we pay our rent. We keep our word when we make contracts, right? So most of us spend this time avoiding the legal system. But are there aspects of the legal system that we can leverage to our advantage? Where can we take, where we can take better control of our lives and create stories and outcomes for us and our families, that we'd like to see happen by leveraging the legal system? So the answer to this is yes, but most of us kind of are leaving some cards on the table with our families and they are suffering from it. So that's what I want to talk about today. So I'm Todd Jarvis. I help business owners and families find peace of mind by creating solid foundations in their businesses and their families so they can create true value in their business and get the freedom they deserve without wasting time. We do this via our growth to legacy process that we implement here. So if you're new here, welcome. And don't forget to subscribe so you can get alerted about all our new content that's released. Also, to the new and repeat visitors alike, remember to post your thoughts and questions so we can learn together. All right, so let's go ahead and get moving here. So as the title says, you can really think about today's episode as a routine doctor's checkup, but for your legal well-being. Just like you wouldn't ignore, checkups if you're not feeling well, and it's good to go, especially as you get to a certain age, like some of us are at already, to get checked up recently with your physician to make sure things are still going the way they should and that you're as healthy as you can be, and to try to be proactive and preemptive with your health. So it's important to not overlook your legal health. It's all about making sure that, some of the things we're going to talk about today are wills, trusts, insurance, other legal documents and decisions that you can make and practices you can implement that reflect and make sure they reflect your current life situation, your current wishes, the dynamics of your family, the dynamics of your assets and your goals. Outdated documents, they can be ineffective, but not just that, they can create an outcome that you would rather not see happen, right? Because if there's a legally enforceable document, it will be followed in most cases, and it's hard to get them ignored. So let's just make sure this doesn't happen. By reviewing these things on a periodic basis, you can make sure to stay on top of things. All right, so today's session, I got this thought and inspiration to do this from a family I've met with recently. We'll call them the Connor family, okay? So most of the time, life is pretty routine. Sarah and John came to me and to talk through their legal situations and talk through their goals with their family. And just like in many situations, it was prompted by something happening in their lives, right? So most of the time, life is pretty routine, right? We get up, we get the kids ready for school, we get ourselves ready for work or social activities, or to work on things around the house to keep the house moving forward and the household together, so things don't fall apart. It's traditionally, on the most part, life is routine and orderly. Well, until it isn't. And it's usually, it's an outside source that kind of interjects itself to cause and to invite that chaos into our lives. So the Connors, life for them was pretty routine for them, right? So, Sarah, she's a stay-at-home mom for the most part. For the last couple of years, she has been kind of doing a side gig selling cosmetics, and her husband John is he's an engineer, and they have two kids. Their life is changing a little bit over the last couple of years, as it often does, right? But it's part of the routine of life, right? So one of their kids has grown up, turned 18, graduated, and started their first year of school. Their other kid's a junior at the high school. And, even though life has many adventures, even though we have all these activities we're trying to get the kids to all the time, and things that seem to just jump out of nowhere on us. Oh, we got to get the kid to a birthday party this weekend. Oh, we got to get a gift for that. So, yeah, I say life's routine, but, it keeps us on our toes. But when I say, chaos is interjected into our lives, what I'm talking there is things that really throw us off our mark. Okay. So what happened to the Connors were kind of moving through life. And then about 18 months ago, John started experiencing some symptoms that were uncomfortable for him. So he, as many of us would, and hopefully we do, we go and seek professional guidance and help when these things happen. So he went and talked to some doctors, and after some tests and the things that they had to go through to diagnose him, he was diagnosed with kind of a chronic illness. It's nothing that's going to have any immediate effect. Yeah, he'll still experience these symptoms for a while, but in the near future, in the coming years, life is going to change pretty drastically for John and Sarah as they deal with this new reality of their life. And this happens to all of us. All right, whether it's a car accident or whether it's an illness, things happen. And the news here and the story for today is that you can kind of take control of those situations. And that was really Sarah's question. In our planning session, she asked if there was any way they can keep things within their control. She was feeling like she was losing grip on life, right? It was getting away from her. She was feeling less confident in being able to predict where her family was headed and what they'd be experiencing in the future and what that would all look like financially. Also, who would be making decisions and how they're going to care for each other, how they're going to be able to be there for their kids as they're in college and be able to visit with them and provide this outcome and this plan she had in her head of how life was going to go. So she wanted to see, can I still have control over my life and control some of the story going forward? And I was happy to be able to say yes. In many ways, that's what we do when we do things like estate planning, right? Or when we work with an insurance advisor, or we work with a financial advisor, right? That's kind of what we're doing there, is we're trying to take control of some of these situations rather than just letting the default rules kind of dictate what happens. So one of the first things that Sarah and John and I talked about was, what do they want to see happen for themselves ultimately? One of the big questions with them is, well, as John starts losing his ability to provide for himself and to make decisions for himself, what was going to happen then? So we start talking about estate planning. We start talking about different tools they can use to control what would happen to them as they moved through this new reality. So, we talked about, well, what do they want to see happen ultimately? The big questions, the big topics we talk about in estate planning are incapacity and death, right? So what happens when one of us becomes incapacitated? Who's able to make those decisions for us? Who's able to help us keep our life moving forward the way that we had envisioned to get the best experience out of life? And that experience, and what is the best experience, is really, it's up to us, right? Individually, we have our own expectations of life. We have our own goals in life, and we are all have different levels of risk tolerance. And not just that, but in the past episode, we've talked about problems and how we're always going to have problems in our life, but how we can choose to bring into our lives the problems that we are dealing with, right? So what I mean by that is, if we define ourselves and our outcome and a good experience through life, one that has a lot of leisure and a lot of just, keeping up with Netflix and enjoying video games or enjoying movies. These are all good things, right? These are all things. Everybody has their hobbies and their likes and the things that they really like to get out of life, right? The experiences that they want. So I'm not trying to. I'll never give anybody a hard time for their hobbies. I have some strange ones myself that many people might think, aren't you a little too old for this? Well, maybe not. All right, leave me alone. I like my hobbies. Okay, so anyway, so if you're inviting and you're liking, video games, if those are a big part of the enjoyment you get out of life, well, the problems you're inviting into your life, one is you're going to need some pretty good, hefty, internet connections, which can be costly. So you're bringing the expenses of a good, sophisticated internet connection. You're also going to be dealing with needing a lot of the time for it, so maybe your time away from family might be a situation, right? Or staying up late, right? So you're like, I don't want to sacrifice time with my family. So you stay up a little bit later and get a little less rest at night so that you can have that time to yourself to decompress and enjoy your video games, right? Also, the cost of the equipment. Gaming computers aren't cheap. So that's another problem you're inviting into your life, is keeping up with all of the new games and all the new technology that's coming out. So these aren't bad problems, but they are problems, right? Just like if you define a good outcome in life, being healthy, strong, maybe you like bodybuilding, okay? So bodybuilding, just like any hobby, takes a lot of time. It takes money, right? You gotta spend hours in the gym. You gotta spend a lot of time researching nutrition, cooking your food, prepping your food, because everything you put in your body is going to have a major impact on the outcomes you're getting from the work you're doing in the gym. So you're inviting, those are the problems you're inviting into your life, right? So anyways, if we are deciding, we want, we get together and we think to ourselves, we have this expectation what our life's going to be like and what enjoyment we're going to get out of life, what problems we're going to invite into our life in order to achieve the joys that we are seeking in our life, right? Maybe it's travel, like I said, bodybuilding, maybe video games, whatever that is, the joy that you're seeking and to experience with your family or with yourself, right? Oftentimes us as parents love to force one of our favorite things to do is to force our hobbies on our kids so we can kind of kill two birds with one stone, spend time with their family and get our hobbies done, right? So anyways, a big part of achieving these outcomes and being able to have the time and the energy to deal with the entertainment and the things that we want to get out of life, a lot of that comes down to making sure that we're making good decisions in alignment with those goals, and that we have the right people understanding what our goals are, right? Communicating well with our spouses on how we want to spend our time, what our hobbies are going to be, and then supporting our spouses or our kids in those things, right? As long as they're not destructive to themselves or the family, right? We can support them. And even though we might not understand their hobbies and their interests, we can support them through it, right? It's helping them be happy and get out of life what they're wanting to get out of life. But as these different things come into our lives, like John and Sarah are experiencing, their ability to kind of meet those expectations they have out of life, those hobbies that they have, it's going to take more support as John's symptoms develop, right? Their problems they're going to need to overcome in order to achieve the outcomes that they are hoping to achieve and the activities they're hoping to do. It's going to take a different mindset, and it's going to take a different approach than they had originally anticipated. And also, oftentimes, it involves a community outside of the family. What I mean by that is, if something else were to happen in their family and maybe Sarah wasn't able to be there for John at different instances, who can John rely upon then to help him have the outcome in life that he wants to have, right? So if Sarah's not there to make decisions for him, to communicate with his physicians, and to help him to get around because he will at some point be less mobile than he is now. So who's going to be that person who can step in and help in those situations? So those are some of the things we can take control of when we talk about estate planning. When we're talking about estate planning, we're talking about, okay, what do we want to see happen? What is everybody going through when someone becomes incapacitated, right? Are they having to go to court to get permission and authority to make decisions for the person who is suffering or is limited in their decision-making power? Or are we going to plan around the court and not involve the court? Okay, so that's an outcome decision we can make. All right, and we can leverage the legal system and legal tools to make that decision and to avoid court if we want, right? Also, who's going to be part of the team? Okay, so we might have family members who can step in and help us and help John in the situation when he needs it, and to help Sarah help John eventually, right? So who are these people? Friends, neighbors, family members, professionals who they can rely on and put in place and empower to be able to step in and help them in these situations. So that's really, when you think about estate planning, don't think about money. It's not always about the money. All right. That's why a lot of people think, oh, I don't need an estate plan because I don't have $1 million sitting in the bank. Who cares that you don't have $1 million sitting in the bank? You have minor children at home. That child is going to need to be raised by someone or cared for by someone temporarily or permanently. If something happens to you, you're not able to care for them. Okay, so why don't you take control of this life and control of that outcome and decide today who's going to be that permanent guardian or that temporary guardian to help your children until they're 18 if you're not able to help them. Okay, so that's something you can leverage. It's guardianship for your kids, making sure that your kids are always cared for and raised by someone that you know and trust, and just as important, who they know and trust. So, like I said, it's not always about the money. It's also about the experience and the struggle and the confusion that can surround these life experiences of illness or traumatic injuries, and even death. And also keeping up on those things. Like I said, if you have a will in place, people ask me who needs a will. In my opinion, if you're over 18, you probably need a will, right? You want to be able to control who's going to be making decisions for you after you die, who's going to be managing your affairs, who's going to be wrapping up your affairs, and create a roadmap for them. It's not always just about you either, right? It's about creating this roadmap that those you leave behind can follow, right? If something happens to John and Sarah, if Sarah's gone, Sarah wants to feel comfortable and know that John's going to be cared for by someone she knows and trusts and that he knows and trusts. And then after he's gone, the kids, whatever they leave for the kids, will be managed in the way that they want it managed for the kids, right? That manage the money, manage that experience for the kids that they would have created if they were still alive. Also, estate planning is important. We can leverage a lot of legal processes and legal tools to create the life experience for ourselves and our families that we want to see happen for them, right? And so that these traumatic experiences, this chaos that can interject, like illness in John and Sarah's situation and example, that it doesn't have to disrupt as much our lives as much as it can. All right. So when someone becomes incapacitated, when someone gets hurt, when someone dies, there are a lot of emotions involved and a lot of turmoil. So what estate planning enables you to do, and making sure that your estate plan continues to be updated, what it can do is it can smooth out some of that turmoil, right? It'll let people concentrate on being there for each other, providing the emotional support to each other, because the financial support and the legal processes and just the daily routine of dealing with the stuff of life has already been decided, has already been taken care of. It's outlined in the plan, and the people who are being asked to participate in that plan have already been educated. And a good estate plan all the power of attorneys, all the trustees, all the executors, they already know that they're going to be called upon. They've already been talked to. They've already been given instructions. They've already been given copies of documents that they need. All right. So if you've planned with an attorney that didn't help you educate the people who you have named in your plan, go ahead and do that for yourself. Make sure you're communicating with them. And if you have any questions about that, you can always reach out to me. I can give you some ideas, all right, on how to do that. Okay. So there's also, make sure you're reviewing your insurance, because insurance can provide money to help create the outcome that you're looking to create for your family. All right. Becoming medical, we all know medicine, all being in the hospital, getting the health care you need. We have some of the best health care in the world here in our nation, right? However, it's costly. No one will deny that. It's expensive. Burial is expensive. Cremation is less, but still expensive. And so having the funds there to execute the plan. So if we get this really awesome estate plan together, we create this fantastic outcome, this roadmap for everybody. If there's no money to help it work, that can be a frustration and cause issues within the plan, okay? So insurance is one place where we can leverage and make sure that the funds are there to make sure that everything goes smoothly in the plan. One instance you'll see here is many people have their personal residence is basically their greatest asset, right? Oftentimes that's going to provide more inheritance funds to their kids and the next generation than any other assets. Because, especially as we live longer, those of us who have done a good job of saving up for retirement are living longer, and we're going to be using more of that retirement, right? So if the retirement funds are used, savings are gone, the house might have $500,000 in equity in it. But if you can't get that equity out because it costs money to get the house ready to sell and to sell it, and if there's no money to do that, then the plan can be frustrated. So talk to an insurance advisor. Make sure you have some insurance in place. Is often good. As you get older, insurance might be too expensive. So there are other opportunities that you can work with a financial advisor to get some guidance on kind of pooling some money for these kind of last expenses that you'll need to provide for, to make things and help things go smoothly for your family, to create that outcome you want to see, right? Take control of these situations. That leads us into the next situation where we have your retirement benefits. Sitting down with someone and going through your retirement goals is something you should do at least yearly. Check up, find out, what are your expectations in retirement? What are your expectations if a traumatic injury occurs and you become disabled and you're not able to work as long as you thought you'd be able to? If you have a John and Sarah situation where he's probably he's going to have to retire early, they're meeting with their financial advisor to make sure that they have these contingencies taken care of. Make sure you have the right beneficiaries set up. If you've created a trust, make sure that your beneficiaries are set up correctly with that trust, okay? There have been a lot of rules and new laws put in place regarding the payout of inherited retirement accounts. So if you have an IRA or a 401k from your employer, and make sure that you're working closely with your estate planning attorney and your financial advisor to make sure they're making good decisions regarding how you set up your beneficiaries for those retirement accounts. There is no one size fits all right? Your financial advisor and attorney shouldn't just say, oh, just do X, Y, and Z. Everybody just does it this way because the new rules are too complicated. We don't want to think it through, all right? Get some advisors that will think through the new rules, that some are already in place, some haven't been put in place yet, but they're coming. I'm talking about things that the advisors will know, as like the Secure Act, and there's some updates to the Secure Act, and a lot of these things aren't even in place yet, but advisors are already kind of planning as if they are in place. But I'm finding more and more that a lot of advisors and attorneys are simply just finding a knee-jerk reaction and a one-size-fits-all decision regarding those beneficiary designations that are really limiting their clients' ability to plan proactively and strategically for their families. Okay, so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. I didn't want to dump a whole bunch of really get in the weeds today. Just encourage you, review your estate plan. If you don't have an estate plan in place, I will tell you this, you actually do have an estate plan in place. It's just the one that the legislature's up at the Capitol has created for you. All right. So review that with an advisor, with an attorney. Find an attorney, review that plan, the default plan, see if it's doing what you want it to do, or your plan you put in place. Make sure it's still doing what you expect it to do, and make sure that your goals haven't changed to the point to where the plan isn't creating the outcome and experience for your family that you want. All right. So our legal system, a lot of people don't like it, but I will tell you this: there are a lot of powerful ways that you can leverage the legal system for your benefit, to benefit your family, to create an experience for your family that will meet and be in alignment with your guiding principles and values that you have set with your family. And just talk to someone who can really talk you through that, to get a plan in place that will truly encompass the values and create the outcome for your family that you want to see. Again, talk to your insurance advisor, your financial advisor. If you're working with good advisors and attorneys, they should all be willing to talk to each other and with you as a team to make sure everything is really in alignment for you. Again, thank you for coming today. Hopefully you got something out of this and that it was beneficial. Next episode, we are going to do a similar type of checkup, but we're going to do it for your business. All right. So what is your New Year legal checkup for your business? You might be surprised, it might not be, but we will continue the conversation of estate planning, because your succession plan for your business is something that you need to be talking about and reviewing on a regular basis. So I'll kind of share some tips and tricks with reviewing your succession plan, your exit plan, and just making sure that your business is set up for success no matter what phase of business you are in right now. All right. Have a fantastic day, and we will see you next time.